There are stories whispered in the dust, tales that never found their way into the scrolls of kings or the annals of empires. Stories that live only in the murmur of wind that passes through ruins, or the trembling of candle flames in forgotten tombs. Among these, one name is spoken only by those who still remember the price of royal pride and divine defiance, Queen Amara of Eloria, the sovereign who, with her dying breath, bound her bloodline to an unending curse. Her kingdom has long since fallen into sand and shadow, its banners devoured by time. But the echoes of her vengeance endure, in the barren fields where nothing grows, in the cries of black ravens circling ancient towers, and in the hollow eyes of her descendants, all of whom met deaths that seemed shaped by unseen hands. Before the curse, Eloria was said to be a paradise. Its marble spires rose like spears of moonlight, its temples perfumed with incense and song. Scholars spoke of its queen as a woman chosen by the gods, her beauty radiant, her wisdom unmatched. But power, as history has shown time and again, is a fickle flame. And the brighter it burns, the darker the shadow it casts. Amara was not born to the throne. She was born beneath an eclipse, the daughter of a priestess who claimed her child was marked by celestial omen, half blessed, half doomed. When the king died without an heir, Amara's lineage through her mother, a sacred bloodline tied to the temple of the sun serpent, made her the only contender. The priests saw in her an opportunity, to bind the throne to the temple's will. But Amara had other plans. She was no puppet. Her coronation was not a ceremony of submission but of silent rebellion. As the golden crown was lowered onto her brow, the torches flickered and the sky trembled with thunder, though it was said to be a clear day. The priests took it as a sign of divine approval. But those who stood closest saw the faintest smirk touch her lips, a smile not of humility, but of quiet, dangerous triumph. Years passed, and the queen ruled with an iron grace. Under her reign, Eloria prospered, its trade routes thrived, its armies grew strong, and its scholars uncovered relics older than memory. Yet beneath that brilliance lay rot. The queen's thirst for knowledge turned into obsession, she sought the words of the first dawn, an ancient scripture said to grant dominion over life and death. Legends warned that the script was not meant for mortal eyes, that it was penned by the gods themselves to seal away the chaos before creation. But Amara, ever defiant, commanded her alchemists, her seers, and her spies to find it. They did. Hidden beneath the catacombs of the old world, deep within a labyrinth carved into obsidian rock, they unearthed the fragments of the forbidden scripture, carved into bone and bound with threads of gold. When Amara touched it, the torches of the undercrypt flared blue. The air thickened. One by one, her attendants fell to their knees, their eyes rolling white. The queen, however, stood unmoved. In that moment, the whispers began, not from her courtiers, but from the walls themselves. They spoke in tongues older than language, promising eternity for the price of a single truth: she must never bear the mark of betrayal. But fate is cruel. Amara's husband, King Darius, a man of noble birth and trembling faith, feared her. He saw in her not divine wisdom, but witchcraft. While the queen sought immortality for her empire, he conspired to end her reign. With the help of the high priests, he orchestrated a betrayal masked as devotion. One night, during the Feast of Renewal, as Amara lifted her chalice of spiced wine, Darius pressed his lips to her hand and whispered, "Forgive me, my queen." Moments later, she collapsed. Her blood turned to black smoke. The banquet hall fell silent. They said the poison was crafted from the tears of the moon, an alchemical creation capable of silencing the divine within the mortal. But as her body withered, her spirit refused to fade. Her final act would not be surrender, it would be vengeance eternal. On her deathbed, her eyes burned with an unnatural light. She summoned her remaining strength and spoke the words from the forbidden scripture. Her voice fractured the air, the walls of the palace trembled. She cursed not just her husband, but all who shared his blood. Her curse was not a mere malediction, it was a weaving of fate itself. "As I have been betrayed," she declared, "so shall betrayal be the seed of your line." You will know no peace in crown nor cradle, until the debt of the serpent is repaid. She died smiling. The storm that followed lasted 7 days. Lightning carved the sky into ribbons of fire. The palace burned, and the river that flowed beneath its bridges turned crimson with clay and ash. When dawn finally came, nothing remained but silence, and a new reign, cursed from its first breath. Centuries passed. Eloria fell into ruin. Its name vanished from maps, its temples swallowed by forest and sand. Yet the curse endured. Every descendant of Darius met a fate that mirrored the queen's words. Betrayal became their inheritance. Brothers turned on brothers, queens on kings, fathers on sons. Empires rose and fell upon the same blade, always drawn by the same hand of treachery. The curse became a legend, then a myth, and finally a superstition whispered by mothers to disobedient children. But history has a way of circling back upon itself. In the age of glass and iron, what scholars now call the Third Era, explorers uncovered the ruins of what was once Eloria. Deep beneath the shattered throne hall, they found carvings depicting a woman with eyes of flame, surrounded by serpents devouring their own tails. The inscription beneath read, "Eternal is the wound of the sun." Among the expedition was a historian named Lysandra Vale. She had royal lineage, distant, forgotten, diluted through generations, but traceable nonetheless to the old Elorian kings. Unaware of her cursed ancestry, she pressed her hand against the carving to brush away the dust. The torches around her guttered. The ground quivered. That night, she dreamed of a woman cloaked in black and gold, whispering her name through teeth of light. When she awoke, the entire camp was gone. No footprints. No blood. Just the wind. What followed was one of the strangest series of deaths ever recorded. Every scholar involved in the excavation met their end through betrayal, a lover's deception, a colleague's envy, a friend's ambition. It was as if time itself had reawakened Amara's words, seeking to finish what had been left undone. Historians argued, of course. They called it coincidence. Superstition. A myth reborn through hysteria. But the few who dared to look deeper discovered something unsettling. Within the queen's tomb, there was no body. Only a sarcophagus filled with serpentine bones, and a crown, still pulsing faintly with heat, as if forged from living metal. One inscription, barely legible, was etched inside the lid. "I am not dead. I am waiting." Soft pause, wind howling through ruins. To some, the story of Queen Amara is nothing more than allegory, a caution against pride and power. But there are places, hidden from modern eyes, where her name is still forbidden to speak aloud. In those places, offerings of black lilies are left at night beneath the statues of faceless queens. The locals say it is not to worship her, but to keep her asleep. Those who have ignored the warnings often vanish. Those who survive speak of visions, a woman standing in the mist, her crown cracked, her gaze endless. She whispers, not in malice, but in sorrow, "It was not the curse I desired, it was remembrance." And perhaps that is the truest tragedy of all. That a queen who sought to preserve her empire through eternity found only oblivion, and that her only immortality came through the echo of a curse. So when the night grows still, and the wind carries voices not your own, listen closely. For in the silence between heartbeats, you may hear her story. The queen who defied gods, was betrayed by man, and in her final breath, bound her bloodline to her rage. The queen who cursed her entire lineage so that no one would ever forget her name. Amara. The eternal queen of shadows.